Let me thank Erich Stratham and the Marine Corps Division Band and the Color Guard for joining us in making this such a very special occasion. And let me welcome each and every one of you on behalf of the War Memorial Opera House Board, who asked that I come participate, and they extend an invitation to each one of you to come participate, because this member, retired member of the United States Marine Corps, a veteran, and his wonderful wife, George and Charlotte Shultz, this afternoon, early evening, we're doing something that frankly should have been done a long time ago. In this city, when the concept of a memorial, war memorial for veterans was first done, they said it would be right here. And of course, we have finally, after many, many tries, gotten it right. Because in 1936, the construction didn't produce it. And then there was, I don't know, 6 or 7 additional times from the original time, and it didn't work. But then finally, about 2 or 3 years ago, we got it right. The Board of Trustees decided in their wisdom to say thank you to 2 incredible San Franciscans by making the Horseshoe Circle or the Horseshoe Drive named in their honor, and all of you have come for this occasion. The man who presides over this city for purposes of everything is, of course, the mayor. Directly across the street is where he journeys from on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, who just celebrated his 60th birthday, Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Willie Brown, and thank you, everybody, for coming this lovely afternoon. You know, the years that followed the 1906 San Francisco earthquake were filled with grandiose plans to rebuild our city. And perhaps the best realized of these is the San Francisco War Memorial and Performing Arts Center. Efforts began in 1918, and in 1931, the ground was broken to build the War Memorial in honor of the San Franciscans who had served during World War I. In addition to honoring those veterans, the War Memorial gave a permanent residence to the opera and the symphony and eventually the ballet. The War Memorial and Performing Arts Center has great historic significance, including housing the signing ceremony of our United Nations Charter in 1945. And today, we are making history thanks to the generosity and support of Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Bechtel. With a grant of $1.5 million, Stephen, from their foundation, and in honoring Charlotte and George Shultz, we are that much closer to fulfilling the original vision of the War Memorial Complex, which was to include a memorial right in this courtyard. Mr. and Mrs. Bechtel, as a small token of our city's appreciation, I am pleased to present to you a certificate of honor, and I know it's not worth $1.5 million, but maybe the personality of me added with Willie Brown, it comes close. If I may present to you, Mr. Bechtel, on behalf of their city, our gracious certificate of honor and a gracious personal thanks for your contribution.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very kind of you.
Thank you. The Bechtels generously gave their contribution in honor of George and Charlotte, and together with that gift, it was only appropriate that the War Memorial Board of Trustees also decided to recognize Charlotte and George by renaming this carriage drive in their honor. Charlotte and George, through their dedication to both veterans and the arts, embody the War Memorial's founding purpose as a cultural center and a lasting dedication to the men and women of San Francisco who serve our country. It's my pleasure to join the Bechtels and the War Memorial today in honoring Charlotte and George for declaring today, May 10th, 2012, as Charlotte and George Shultz Day in San Francisco. But you can't park that carriage freely in our city.
Mayor Lee, thank you very, very much. It was just slight of 2 years ago, or I should say just north of 2 years ago, when the board on which Charlotte serves, which Wilkes serves, and the great inspiration was from a real veteran, a man who carries the title of general. He announced the arrival of the carriage just earlier. But more importantly, he cobbled together the real idea that the veterans' beautiful memorial must be complete and must be done. And Mayor Lee, not only did the Bechtels generously give of their own to this effort, but they did what we politicians love to do, and that's solicited from our friends additional help. This project received the benefit of that great mailing list. I wish I could get my hands on it, because it produced almost as much as the Bechtels had given, completed the payment, and made the good general very, very happy, as well as his board. Ladies and gentlemen, words from Stephen Bechtel.
Thank you. We still call you Mayor, don't we?
Yeah, you can, if he doesn't mind.
I don't mind at all. He always said okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor Willie Brown. It's really, I'm honored, and it's a pleasure to say a few words on this occasion. It's very appropriate to name such an important facility in San Francisco for George and Charlotte. San Francisco home for many very important people, but none more important as great made a good contribution to our country as George Shultz. Charlotte has given great service to our city and our state, and greatly supports George in his current and recent past activities. I am, and I believe all here, extend a great thanks to them for their great services to our country, to California, and to San Francisco. And I'd like to compliment our city for recognizing them in this manner. Thank you very much.
Mayor Lee, that time has come. Would you please join me? And would you proceed to do the dedication of the Horseshoe Drive as has been requested by the War Memorial Opera House Board in honor of George and Charlotte Shultz. Mr. Bechtel, will you join us, please?
We'll be up here.
General, please join us.
And can we?
Yeah, we'll bring them up next.
We'll bring you up next.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure, joining all of you, to announce this dedication on behalf of our city, behalf of the War Memorial, dedicating this carriageway to be Charlotte and George Shultz Way of San Francisco. Horseshoe Drive.
Bring the two of them on in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary George Shultz and Chief of Protocol Charlotte Shultz, the honorees.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lee, Mayor Brown, distinguished guests, my fellow board members. Nancy Bechtel and I would call this a wow day, and it is a wonderful day. Willie, I was sitting here thinking, Mayor Brown, sorry, thinking that, you know, from our hometowns, Mineola, Texas for Willie, and Borger, Texas for me, I don't know whether they would have named a street for us there or not, but there would have been a problem because in Mineola and in Borger, there's only one street, and it's already been named, Main Street. So it is breathtaking to think that a street here is named for George and myself. And coming in on the carriage, I rather like that. The surprise is, I guess, that they're giving us the carriage and the horses. And I can't wait to arrive at the opera. And Mayor, do you think we should get some permits for the horse and carriage on Russian Hill? I don't know. Seriously, everybody knows that's ever talked to me more than a few minutes that I am passionate about these buildings. I've had the opportunity of being involved with the bond issue for the Symphony Hall, the restoration of the Opera House, and of course the City Hall, helping Mayor Brown with that a bit. And now, soon, the Veterans Building will be restored. And as was said, the only thing that wasn't done when these buildings were built is that the memorial for veterans, because we ran out of money. Have you all heard about that before? So now what happened is that riding in, not on a carriage, but on a charger, was the Mike and Wilkes little group, because they came in, that's Mike Myatt and Wilkes Bashford, leading the charge to raise the money for this memorial. So they are certainly to be commended, and then to go out and get their army of people for monies, and most particularly to Steve and Betty and the Bechtel family. And by the way, happy birthday, Steve. It's his birthday today, okay? So it's a great honor to know that that memorial will be here, and that this Horseshoe Drive will put its arms around a wonderful memorial for veterans who I know that we respect so much and admire so much, and this is long awaited, and we are so happy to be a part of it. And so may I present my veteran, my Marine, my Secretary, George Shultz.
Well, I want to second all of the thanks that Charlotte has talked about, Mike and Wilkes, and most especially my great friend Steve Bechtel. We have been pals for a long, long time, and I can't tell you anybody I respect more and look to as a genuine friend. So, Steve. I'm wearing a tie that Ronald Reagan gave me back in the primary days in 1979-80, and it has a nonpartisan sentiment on it. It says, "Democracy is not a spectator sport." So get in. Now, of course, I've always felt that public service is a great privilege and great opportunity, but no one serves more than the veterans serve in the armed forces, particularly veterans who serve in combat. So I think it is so necessary and so appropriate to finally have this special memorial here in this place. In Northern California area, there are more veterans than in 48 of the 50 states. So this is hallowed ground for veterans right around here. And I think that adds to the appropriateness of this place.
But look at the setting. City Hall symbolizes the idea of government by free people, government representing, giving us governance on the basis of that representation. That's the idea we go out and fight for. And the Veterans Building there. And then in this setting where, if you listen closely, you can hear the wonderful soaring music of the symphony. You can hear the arias and the opera and the grace and beauty of our ballet. And this wonderful performing arts gives us a sort of the soul of the tribute to the veterans. And it says that we respect you, we love you, and we thank you. So as a veteran myself, particularly if you have been in combat, you know how close you are. I want to say, for my own behalf, thank you.
There are 2 or 3 people that we need to identify, George and Charlotte, because they're here as part of the honor group, but they hold titles. I see the Sheriff, Hennessy, and just appointed by Mayor Lee to run that Sheriff's Department. She's here, first female sheriff of our city. Greg Sir, the Police Chief, appointed by Mayor Ed Lee as well. And Supervisor Eric Marr, who comes from the 2nd Supervisorial District, no, 1st Supervisorial District, not too distant from here, and he's honored us. If I missed anybody, it's Matthew's fault, because those are the only names he gave me. However, I want to thank each and every one of you on behalf of the Bechtel Fund, on behalf of Wilkes and Mike, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the War Memorial Opera House Board, and of course, on behalf of the mayor of the city. All of you taking part in this ceremony is really important to say, job well done to 2 very, very wonderful people. And now we're going to invite you to join Charlotte and George in the lobby of the Opera House. We're going to continue the drinking that started at 4:30 this afternoon. The reception is inside. Please join us in the Opera House for a reception honoring and celebrating this momentous occasion. Thank you very much for coming.